Hello, welcome back. This is the second attempt to do this show because technical difficulties got in the way last time. So here we are. This is the Motivated the Live show. I'm Mark Terrell from the Reluctant Leader Academy. I'm your host, and today we are exploring the chapter in the Motivated book called Review, where we're looking at the importance of reviewing. And before we do that, let's just recap on the previous steps in the measure process. First step is M for mirror, E for evaluate, A for action, S is for systemize, and U is for unify. So we now got to R, which is review, as I've mentioned. So let's think about what that actually means. So when we're running a business, we've got to make sure that we're checking things, we're reviewing how things are going, making sure that we're not just working hard and not actually taking stock of what's going well or what's going not so well. So we can then reevaluate and make sure that we are back on track and we're not just doing things for the sake of them. So review is really important. And when we think about when we are in that sort of transition, we're going through a sort of a process of change. And a good way to describe is the transition curve, or the change curve, some call it, where we have these 6 stages which we go through when we are dealing with some sort of change. And we obviously need to make sure that when we're leading a team, we're doing everything we can to support and make sure that nobody gets stuck on the way. So let's go through the 6 steps in this transition curve. First step is the immobilization. So this is where we don't really do anything. We don't probably think it's going to affect us. It's something that we'll just observe. Bit like when we first heard about the coronavirus, we probably didn't do anything thinking, well, it's in China, not going to affect me, that's many thousands of miles away. Why would I worry about that? And it wasn't until we suddenly realised that actually there was cases that arrived that we go into that next step, which is that denial bit. So we sort of don't do anything, then we deny it's going to have anything to do with us. And then we realise actually this is happening. And then that third step is that powerless frustration point where, oh, why is this happening? Lots of things going on through, and you sort of almost like fighting it, trying to think that, well, it'll sort itself out. I don't need to do anything. I don't need to change anything myself. It's things that are going on outside, and I don't really want to deal with this, which isn't a particularly useful way of thinking about things. And as time goes by, you come to a point where you just accept the situation. So, we've all had to accept the situation as it is. We've had to accept that we need to work in a different way. We need to do things that we don't particularly want to do, like wear masks and all that sort of jazz. So we just accept things because we realise that it's futile trying to fight against something that is happening we have no control over. So that fourth step is that realisation that we have to accept the situation. It's going to happen, and it's for us to make the most of it and the best of it. So when we've done that, the next step is we start to think, well, how can I change things and introduce things and test things that will now work in the new environment. So this is where we think about new ways of working, ways we have to integrate, obviously, technologies that we have to bring in to allow us to do our work, and all those things, and how we can connect with people that we're not seeing so often, all those sort of things. So we start to test out things to see whether they work or not. And there's been an awful lot of that going on in the last 18 to 24 months, where we didn't know how to deal with this stuff. Nobody's ever had to deal with a pandemic in the past, so there was an awful lot of testing going on and learning and integrating eventually the things that worked. so we could then carry on. So we're pretty much at that stage. I think in most cases we've accepted the situation, we've tested lots of things out, and we've now integrated everything to a point where we're using them on a regular basis. It's not something that is particularly different. It's something that we're just used to using. So, technology now is obviously adapted to the situation. We can use it. We schedule Zoom calls, team calls, just by, it's something that we just do automatically now. Whereas before, a couple of years ago, those online meetings were a last resort in many cases, that we didn't really want to do those sort of things. So we've seen the benefit because we've tested these things out. We've seen the benefit to us. In many cases, people have seen that they don't have to now commute so often. They can spend more time on working as opposed to commuting and all the things that happen. Those sort of things. And then we now have a new scenario or a new situation where we can cope with it. We have everything we need, and we can carry on from this point. So this is all about accepting the change, integrating change, things that allow that change to happen, so that it doesn't disrupt what we're doing too much, and then ultimately getting to a point where everything carries on sort of like normal, but in a new reality. So if we go to this scenario where we're leading a team, then what we've got to try and think of is how we can stop everyone going down that dip. So we need to communicate well, make sure people don't get to the point where they're frustrated, and get to the point where they are accepting as soon as possible, because we've communicated the reason, we've and accepted that we have to try things. I don't have all the answers. You shouldn't suggest that you have the answer. You should say, well, this is something we're going to try. Hopefully it'll work. If it doesn't, we'll try something else scenario. But the more we communicate, the more we can try to say that we are there supporting in a challenging environment, then we're less likely to have that drop off in that performance, which is bound to happen when people are going through that process of denial, and then frustration, and eventually getting to acceptance. So the quicker we can get people to acceptance, the quicker we can move on and stop that dip happening. So that's hopefully been useful for you. As I mentioned, it's the review chapter in the book, and tomorrow in the next and final video on the Motivated live shows, talking about the chapters in the book, we'll talk about the Energize chapter, where we have to understand how we can energize our team and transfer that energy that we have to our team. So that's going to be the focus on that show. And if you'd like to purchase a copy of the Motivated book, then you can do that. You can do that at Amazon in the normal way, or you can go to my website, thereluctantleader.academy. You'll see there's links there to the landing page where all the details are there, and you can buy a book. And if you use coupon code LIVESHOW, you will get the delivery free, postal packing, I should say. So that would save you a bit. I'll take that cost on board, and I'll get that book to you as soon as I can. I much appreciate your support if you do. So that's that. That's the end of this show. And tomorrow, as I said, there'll be the final show in the 7 series, talking about the chapters in the book. And look forward to that. And until then, have a great day, and I'll see you very soon.